Ugh, being an adult
Fun.
sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you wish we were taught this in school, right?
They never taught us anything about the real world.
Mhm. People are pretty good with like when they make money, they kind of like, thank it. Whether you believe in higher power, you just want to thank the dollar or whatever. Like it's like, cool, money comes in. I'm grateful for this.
Oh, okay, they did not prepare us. Okay, Mr. Hilario from our class at Monroe. Together.
Have less than $1,000 total.
Haven't subscribed already, hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell. I appreciate you guys so much.
Oh, hi. Okay, wait, I don't know if you can.
How's it going?
Not too bad. I don't know if you can see me or not.
Not yet. I think camera's just off.
Oh, there we go. There we
Sweet.
go.
How's it going? Busy day?
Not too bad. My day's just getting started. I work at 4 and I'm doing a closing shift, so it's probably going to be till about 2 a.m.
Okay, nice. Where's work now?
It's at Jeffrey's. It's a sports lounge, and then I pick up like club events like here and there once in a while. I do David's like after hour things sometimes too.
Yeah.
But I've definitely slowed down in the club scene. It's definitely not as much my scene anymore.
Mm.
So yeah, I was a little bit burnt out from that scene, just especially because in high school I was doing 18-hour days. I would do David's after hour thing, get out of there about 8, and then be at school for 9:30.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
definitely pushed myself a little bit too hard on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, you can only get away with that for so long.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah,
No,
I it's crazy to see where you came from and where you are now.
it's different, eh?
Because we met almost a decade ago.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy when you think about it.
I can say things were a decade ago.
Yeah, which is kind of
I,
funny.
I don't feel good about that right now. I don't feel good about that.
Time flies. I think I have, let's see here. Yeah, okay, sweet. Yeah, so you get the recording of this as well, so it should be good, and I'll just fire that off to you. And
Yeah.
then yeah, so we'll do the financial abundance stuff. And then
Yeah.
I'll send you like a video from one of my own coaches too, especially with the time management that will help.
Oh,
Um,
awesome.
Now I guess to start, like I know you've already like read the book, you already know how to make your financial statements, eh?
Yeah. To an extent, yeah. And it was a while ago that I did read your book. I think it was in grade 11.
Mhm.
No, sorry. It was my senior year. It was my senior year. But I don't think it really grasped the way I wanted to because I was like, hey, I can already put this much into savings because like I'm making hundreds of dollars a night. So I never really fully grasp that concept, like what it is to
Right.
truly save on a budget to an extent.
Got it. Okay, so we'll run through this quickly. I'll just introduce this. That way, at least you have a little bit of a background.
For sure.
Now, a basic financial statement is pretty much like I call it like it's four boxes pretty much. So you
Mhm.
got one box that'll split into two, and another box at the bottom that'll split into two this way. Now, the first one here is going to be on top. And this is just your income. Usually do that like per month, right? Now,
Yeah.
technically you can change it to like per week or per day, but per month's a good place to start. And then same thing with your expenses. And what this allows us to find is called your cash flow, which is essentially your income minus expenses.
Yeah.
This is a quick check of like your financial health, pretty much of like, okay, cool. Are we cash flow positive, meaning you're making more than you're spending? Are we breaking even, or are we actually in a deficit where you're actually spending more than you make? Now,
That month.
that
Yeah.
quick check allows us to really figure out, okay, if it's cash flow positive, awesome. Like we're actually moving towards your financial freedom, which is essentially like you know that you're making more than you're actually using.
Mhm.
If it's break even, it's actually not a bad thing, assuming that there's intentionality behind that. So I actually coach all my students to pretty much have a net zero cash flow. And the reason for that is I teach them to count savings and investments as part of an expense because that's going to,
Okay.
future Maya, right? Like, yeah, you're putting it away, technically you're not spending it, but it's gonna be used in the future, whether it's for
Yes.
investments or you're gonna spend it to like, buy a house, buy a car, go on vacation or
Mhm.
whatever. It's money that you're paying today for your future.
Mhm. So
If
that's
it's
where it's just
cash,
like break even is not that bad because you're putting that majority into your future. It's
exactly.
not
Like
like
you're
putting you down. It's not putting you into a legitimate deficit.
exactly. Yeah. You're actually using it to, yeah, you're saving it. So it's not really an expense, but we're counting as an expense
You're
just
still
for our
putting that money somewhere else because you can't use it technically, right?
correct. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. And then if it's cash flow negative, then that's just a quick little check in for to be like, hey, there's one of two issues. Either we're spending too much or we're not making enough.
Mhm.
Now, reducing spending is the easiest and lowest hanging fruit that you can even do even if you're cash flow positive. You could always take a look, and then usually I get students like once a month they'll take a look at all their expenses, like pull out their bank accounts, kind of see, okay, where's money going, and then see, okay,
Mhm.
like, do I need this or do I just want this? And then, hey, if I delete this expense, can I put that towards something else? Like, let's say you're eating out more than you expected, or like getting skipped the
Yeah.
dishes more than you expected. That's usually the big ones, especially with younger people. And they're like,
Oh, for
okay, well,
sure.
I can put that away into a fund, basically.
Mhm.
The problem with reducing expenses is that there's a cap to that. Like you can't actually reduce your expenses to zero because you live in a capitalist society. Like it or not, the cost of living is just an actual expense that everyone has to deal with, right?
Oh, for sure. For me in my position, I'm actually very grateful. So I lived on my own 11, like I moved out in high school. I moved out 11. I was on my own for 11 months before Lisa moved in. My uncle and aunt actually own the building, and
Oh, cool.
they give me a huge discount on that because they knew how young I was. The
Mm,
moment Elisa moves out, it goes back. It doesn't like because we're at regular rent, but we just split it, so it is ending up being a little bit cheaper.
mm.
Um, but I'm very very fortunate for the place that I do live in for it being as cheap as it is.
Nice. No, that's awesome. So again, like you're finding ways to still get great living, but then, make it affordable pretty much.
Yeah. But stuff like that, like, it's unavoidable unless you live, like,
Yeah.
on a compound or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Even if you lived with parents, like, yeah, you could have it at zero for living expenses, but you probably still gotta eat, there's still gonna be things you pay for.
There's still
It's
stuff you're
it's
gonna contribute to,
yeah,
and
it's
because you're not
very
paying that rent,
difficult.
you think you can, like, spend more on
Exactly,
other
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very difficult to reduce expenses to like absolutely zero pretty much. Um, that's where increasing income is actually a better choice just because there is no cap to how much you can increase your income. Sweet. So
Yeah, so instead of going, like, downwards trying to reduce your income, your payments and all of that as much as you can, it's better
mm,
to go up than down, essentially.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah. Questions on the cash flow side?
No. I'm just thinking a few little notes to have just for
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah, totally. No, it's good. Good student. Love it. Uh,
Hey, you taught me well.
yeah, yeah, the notes I find helps a lot just because like you actually take it in, right?
Yeah.
Now
It's weird you're not
with
teaching me in French though. Please don't
yeah,
start
yeah,
speaking.
I know.
Don't start speaking in
Kind of funny.
French.
Where are
But
we?
yeah, sorry.
Okay, yeah,
Go on.
yeah, no, it's all good. Now with assets and debt, this is going to be the bottom section here. Assets are just anything that puts money into your pocket. Um, most people think like stocks, mutual funds, GICs, cash, even gold, silver, real estate, owning a business, cryptocurrency, just anything that is putting money into our pocket or is a form of money.
Hmm.
Debt, or the fancy word for debt is liabilities, is just anything that takes money out of your pocket. This is going to be like, credit card payments, line of credit, a mortgage, um, basically any form of debt. Now, your net worth is, again, it's a similar calculation. It's all your assets minus all your debts. So when it comes to net worth, this is really the number we want to get to what's called financial freedom or financial security. I'm going to show you how to calculate that near the end.
Okay.
Essentially, if your net worth is positive, awesome. Again, we're moving towards you own more than you owe. And again, that's moving us towards financial freedom. If it breaks even, meaning your net worth is zero, that's what we would call being broke. So this is how people can have, $1 million in cash, but if they owe $1 million on a credit card, technically they're still broke.
Hmm.
And then finally, being in debt. So the difference of having debt and being in debt. Being in debt is you have more debts than assets. And this is where people actually have to work hard to become broke because you either got to work to add assets that offset the debt or work to pay down the debt so that you're back to zero.
Hmm.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
No, that does make sense.
Cool. Um, Another asset that I actually count that I don't know if you've read Rich Dad Poor Dad yet. It's a great book as like an intro, but
Hmm.
he actually doesn't count a car as an asset and he counts it as a liability. I
Well,
always
technically
count,
it is.
yeah, technically it is. I count the first vehicle as an asset because it allows you to actually go to work pretty much or run a
Mhm.
business. Like you actually get to move around and um, it saves you time basically. The second vehicle, for most people, it's not an asset just because it's like it's for fun. It's just they have
It's
it.
more of a
Uh,
fancier car. It's like way up.
yeah, exactly. Now you can turn sometimes a second vehicle, especially if you make it like a full business write-off or use it for marketing. You can actually turn it into an asset. But for your
Hmm.
average person, once they have two cars, usually the first one is getting them to work and their business. The other one is like just for fun type thing.
Yeah.
Cool. Um,
Well, like cars technically decrease in value. Like every year that
yes.
you have your car, it decreases in value.
Yeah, exactly.
My
For
car's probably
most
like a
people.
negative, like negative 500 on
Mm.
that scale.
You can if you wanted to find like the value of your car, because once you
Mhm.
like fill this out, you can actually like see okay where you're at.
Okay.
What you could do is you call MPI
Hmm.
and then you ask for your car's black book number. So the black book number, or the black book value, is how much that car is valued as is. So they'll ask for
It
like
would
the
probably make
make,
a huge difference because my car is technically a rebuild. That's why I got it for as cheap as I did.
right? Yeah.
That's probably
So
going to change the value of it, like the black
yeah,
book value, right?
yeah, exactly. So once you find that, then you can add it to like this is called your balance sheet or your net
Mhm.
worth statement, like this part.
Yeah.
And that gives you like an idea where you're at. And then how about like debts? Any debts that you have, whether it's like student loan, line of credit, credit card?
No, I don't. I guess technically well, no, I'm not in debt because like my credit card, like I set it at a very like low limit, so I don't like spend more than I need to.
Got it.
Um, and I already like I pay that off base almost immediately as I make the purchase with my Mastercard because it's so easy to do it
Nice.
online. So I wouldn't
Yeah,
consider myself in debt for that.
cool. Awesome. Yeah. So give you a little homework piece where you basically want to fill this out for, now we're in a new month, so you can take a look at the last month and then you can even just like send me that, like even just totals. That way we can take a look. That way I
Hmm.
can at least do a follow-up, even if you just get the first session there.
Well,
Cool.
I actually
So
think this
that's
is happening at the first time because we got paid on Friday. This is my first day of like the new payroll and everything. So I'm
nice.
actually very excited like to use like everything that you've given me so far and like
Mhm,
get a real like idea of how much like I've made and how much I've actually spent.
mhm,
Just because like September was a weird month where just getting like oil changes, everything like that, and
mhm.
that goes into like would that go no that would go into expenses, right?
Correct. Yeah, that would go into
Because
expenses.
technically like my car's not an asset.
Yeah.
But
It
then
would
it
still
kind of is.
count your first car as an asset,
Mhm.
um, especially once you find the black book number. So yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So that really gives you like where you're starting at. So that's like point A. You're like, hey, this is where Maya's at, essentially. Where,
Mhm.
okay, what's your cash flow? What's your net worth? And then we kind of see where this goes. Now,
Mhm.
we want to get the goal with all this is to get to a place where you don't have to work, right? And a lot of people will like mix up retirement with like, oh, like I'm just gonna sit on a beach and not do anything. The actual definition I prefer with retirement is that you're no longer sacrificing today for
Your
tomorrow,
income.
your
Yeah.
income, basically. So like most people, when they retire, they actually end up like you got to replace it and do something. Like you're not just gonna sit there and do nothing, right? Um,
Well,
so
that's
that's
actually with my
where,
grandmother. She's 81 and she still works. And
yeah,
she's quote unquote retired. She's not
yeah,
retired technically.
yeah. Like you could still work. It's like now you get to work, you don't need to work. And this is where the difference between rich and wealthy is kind of measured. Because rich is just an income measurement, right? You just have a high income. Wealthy is actually measured in time. And I'll show you how we break this down. So I'm gonna clear this. Actually, just start a new page. Equity. Cool. So quick little calculation you want. So there's gonna be two numbers that are gonna be important. It's your financial security number
Mhm.
and then your financial independence number. My spelling is all good. Both are calculated very similarly. All financial security means is that you no longer have to work to pay your bills. So all
Mhm.
your monthly expenses are covered basically for life or for the next 10 to 20 years. And I'll show you how to calculate that.
Mhm.
Financial independence is a similar calculation, but instead of covering your expenses for the next 10 to 20 years or for life, it's covering your income. You're replacing your income for the next 10 to 20 years or for life. And this helps with assuming that you're actually making more than you spend. So if
Mhm.
like if you're breaking even or you're making less than you spend, well then your financial security independence numbers will be like similar basically. But usually there's a
Yeah.
gap. So how to calculate that? Basically you want to find it's your annual expenses. So monthly expenses times 12, and then we're timesing that by either 10 to 20.
Why are we
Financial.
timing that by either 10 to 20?
Good
Like
question.
the annual.
So yeah, so basically we're trying to buy 10 to 20 years of expenses. And
Oh,
that's
and that's
where,
how. Mhm.
yeah, that's where you want your net worth to hit. So you actually want to own enough assets that covers the next 10 to 20 years. Now, because you're young, you'll probably want to shoot for a higher number. That being said, like even hitting that point is already huge because like technically you don't have to like your bills are covered for the next 10 to 20 years.
So then
Assuming
that's
you
where
just
like you're technically financially free.
yeah, you'd be technically called financially secure. You'd probably
Oh,
still work in that case. But it's knowing that, hey, all the money you make from working doesn't have to go to bills anymore. It actually speeds up the process of getting to financially independent.
yeah. How do you get to that point where you're making 10 to 20 times like the or sorry, 10 to 20 years like of your bills and assets?
Yeah. So once you calculate how much you spend per month, you times it by 12, and then, times that by 10 to 20. That's where you're
Mhm.
trying to reach to. So a combination of that is this is why it's important to actually add to your assets every
Mhm.
single month, especially where now you're actually investing into something. Because cash is great, but saving 10 to 20 years of expenses in cash is actually pretty difficult because there's no growth to it.
Well,
As you
yeah,
get
and
more
there's no like
advanced,
interest that it's going up on and everything.
exactly, yeah. And as you get a little more advanced, like you'll start to see like you got to calculate inflation in. All inflation means it's like the dollar's getting weaker every year. Um, but the key here is that you want to actually own some form of assets other than cash. Some people
Yeah.
do crypto, some people do stocks, some people do real estate or start a business.
What would
Because
you
that's
suggest for someone like me, like going into this, like going into investing or stocks or something? Like, what would you recommend personally for because you've known me for a while? Like, what do you think would be good for me?
an easy one for you, just to kind of build the habit, because you already have the habit of putting away money each month.
Yes.
I'm just gonna plug in my
Hmm.
charger. Okay. So as you're putting away money already,
Hmm.
an easy one is it's called an ETF. So it's an exchange traded fund. Um,
Yep.
all it means is instead of you having to pick like, okay, like what stock do I pick? And then you kind of have to like go learn all that. Like it's still something you can still learn as you go by. Um,
Yeah.
but it's like it's a combination of the whole market essentially. So you could invest in like the US or the Canadian market or both. So instead of you
Okay.
picking like one stock at a time, it's like pooling like 500 and you just like you just I it's called set it and forget it. So you pick a number where you're comfortable putting that away and then every time you get paid, you just buy that ETF.
Okay.
So it's a little bit better than a savings, especially if you're looking at more longer term.
And is there
Um,
like more like a guarantee? Like, is it possible that like the ETF could go down and everything?
Yes, there is that. It still follows the market, and you can have like different ETFs. So like some ETFs are strictly Canadian. I like ETFs that are. It's called like Canadian Dividend Aristocrats. All that means is that these are companies that pay what's called a dividend, and a dividend
Okay.
is it's like the stock version of a rent check. So as you own part of these stocks and that are part of this ETF every month or 3 months or 6 months or per year, they'll actually kick you back some of their profits because you actually own part of that company. And this is
Yeah.
where your money's actually growing. Now, the value of that stock or ETF can still go up and down. And that's the beauty of investing regularly. Because as you put money away every single, let's say every single month or every single week, anytime you get paid, let's say,
Hmm.
well, if the price goes up, well, you're getting less of those shares. Because say you're putting away, I don't know, $100 a week. Well, let's say
Hmm.
the price is 25 this week. Well, you get four of those shares. But what if next week it drops to 20? Well, now instead of getting four of those shares, if you still buy $100 worth, now you're getting five. So as price
Okay.
goes down, you pick up more. As prices go up, you pick up less. And it's called dollar cost averaging, which means because you're consistently buying, you're just adding to this amount. So as the price gets lower, you pick up more. As the price gets higher, you pick up less. And that's what kind
And
of
that price,
balance.
you mean like my income, right? Like how much I'm making.
It could be how much you're making, or it could be the actual price of the share of this ETF or this stock.
Okay. What was I gonna say? So like say like it's a really good month with ETF and everything like that. And like they're making a lot of money, which means I'm making a lot of money. Like how would that come back to me? Like cuz I know with some investments you kind of have to cash out to get that money and then you lose that like stock or whatever it is.
Right.
Would
Yeah.
that be the case
So
with ETF or?
yeah, it still functions almost exactly like a stock. It's just like a conglomerate of them. Um,
Mhm.
some people, depending on how they want to structure like their portfolios, what it's called. Sometimes people will like take profits at the end of the year, let's say, or like when it goes up, they're like, okay, cool, I can take some money out. Um, the key here is that you want to build the habit of putting money away because then that's what's growing your net worth, right? Um,
Yeah.
now, this is where the 10 to 20x comes into play because technically, once you reach the 10 to 20x mark, let's say so for example, let's actually run this. How much do you think you spend a month? Guesstimate. You don't have to give me exact number.
Probably anywhere like with bills and everything included,
Mhm.
anywhere between 13 to 1500 a month.
Okay, perfect. So I'll put in, we'll go shoot for the high end. So we'll go 1500 a month
Mhm.
times 12. So it's about 18 grand a year. And then we'll shoot for the high end, which is times 20. So once you have a net worth of 360 grand, basically you have 20 years of expenses as of right now.
Mhm.
Now, one option is just every year you withdraw or you sell, 1 year's worth of expenses, and then now you sit on that, or every month you pull that out and you pay your bills. The issue with that is that your nest egg is what we call it, the total of your portfolio, the 360K, goes down every year, right? So eventually, after 20 years, you got nothing left. Now, this is assuming
Yeah.
you're not continually investing. But in theory, it would be gone in 20 years. The other option is timesing by 20 is the same as dividing by 5%. Timesing by 10 is the same as dividing by 10%. So what does
Mhm.
this 10 and 5% represent? That represents the actual growth of your portfolio. So what you could do, and this is actually the better option, the number is about the same, is instead of pulling out 18 grand of your nest egg,
Mhm.
you take out 5%, which is going to be about 18 grand anyway. But because
Mhm.
you're pulling out the growth of it, next year it's still going to grow and you can pull out 5% every year, assuming it's growing by 5% each year. And you can do that in perpetuity. You can do that forever, basically.
And then you just pull out, I guess, essentially what you needed, and then you put it back in.
Yeah. Yeah. You can
Oh.
continue to keep growing it. And this is where that passive income comes into play because with each time that, let's say you get paid a dividend or there's a little bit of that growth, you pull it out the end of the year or each month, and then now
Yeah.
you're not eating away at the total amount. And 5% is on the conservative end. 10% is a pretty good return. Like if you get 10% of your money, it's pretty good. That's why I keep the range of 10 to 20% or 10 to 20 X or 5 to
Like 10 to
10%.
20% of your income that would go into the like the ETN or the ETF or the.
It would be 10 to 5% of what you're pulling out from the total that you have.
Oh,
And
okay. This is after that we've already put in. Now,
mm,
starting off with like the ETF, like say I started this like tomorrow, essentially started putting money in. What percent of like my income should I be putting in?
good question. So that's going to come into after you do your financial statement, you'll
Mhm.
see what's called how much cash flow you have, right? So if you have extra cash flow, awesome. You could put that towards your ETF or your investment there.
Mhm.
Because that's where it's like that's what the principle of like paying yourself first is. It's like anytime you get paid, like you're putting that much away, basically.
Mhm.
Cool. Um, Now with financial independence, you'll see that the calculation is literally the same. The only difference is it's annual income now times 10 to 20x, which is the same as divided by 10 to 5%. Now, this is where you actually replace your income. So
Mhm.
this is essentially where now you don't technically have to work. Some people actually just fully like stop working, basically, once they reach this number. Because now you could pull out, 5 to 10% or whatever your full annual income each year. And then
Mhm.
you essentially bought yourself freedom for the next 10 to 20 years, or in perpetuity, assuming that the growth of your portfolio is enough to cover what you're pulling out.
Mhm.
So one security covers expenses, independence covers annual income. Now you'll hear people talk about financial freedom. So your freedom number is similar to your annual income, except now it's going to be your desired income.
Mhm. Like what your goal is, like to make that much.
Exactly. And this is really where people kind of make the mistake of like they just pick a number arbitrarily, like randomly. What
Yeah.
you actually want to do is do it's called lifestyle design. So you want to sit down and after you've found, financial security, financial independence, so you know the start, and you've done your financial statement, you want to create what's called the dream financial statement. So all the dream financial statement is what would you like to spend? And I always break it down to categories. So there's going to be, health, wealth, relationships, and passions. So of those four boxes, you want to kind
Mhm.
of break down like how much would you like to actually spend to get the life you actually really want. So like how much would you spend on things for your health, whether that's like, mental, physical, spiritual health. Some people like supplements, some people like going to the gym.
Mhm.
Some people, hire a therapist or something, or like a shrink. Some people like to, give 10% of their income to church, whatever it is. It's the health
Mhm.
side. Then you do the same thing for the wealth side. So like, hey, well, maybe you want to continue investing. Maybe you want to give yourself, even if you're gonna not have to work, you'd still want to invest $500 a month or like 1,000 a month or whatever that number is. It's like, cool.
Yeah.
When it comes to relationships, same thing. It's like, hey, how much do you want to, give back to people you care about? Maybe there's people you need to take care of. Maybe you want to
Mhm.
start a family, right? Like I just did some research yesterday. It's on my story of like how much it actually costs to raise a child from 0 to 22 in Canada.
I
Um,
know. I remember reading a thing. It was 0 to 18. It was $1 million.
yeah, something like that. So,
Mhm. It's huge.
yeah, which is kind of crazy. Um, and then finally the passion side. So maybe there's things that you just want to do to like actually live the life you want. Like I know a big one for me is like I just want to be able to like travel wherever. I like to like write books that actually costs me money in the front end, and then whether I decide to sell it or give it out for free, like that's like kind of my decision. And like
Yeah,
everyone's
and
got
like
their
it wouldn't
different.
matter. Like it wouldn't make a difference to you. Like at that point, like being financially free as you did, if you like
Exactly.
sold them or not.
Yeah. So as you find that number, and you got to like, you literally go line by line. So that's why it starts with the financial statement of like, hey, where am I at? What do I need for financial security, financial independence? And then later on, like, what's that financial freedom number where, okay, cool, here's all the things I want. How much is it going to cost? Then you do the same thing, times it by 10 to 20.
Yeah. Like trying to figure out what I want, that's on a whole nother level that I have to put a lot of thought into. Cause like the one thing, obviously I do want to be financially secure. I want to be financially free, etc. But the one thing, and this is where like I need to figure out what I want to do for a career as well, what I want to do that way. Because I just want to have a family. I've always been very traditional that way, and I want to be like a mom.
Mhm.
But I also at the same time want to have the option to be able to do whatever I want.
Yeah, exactly. And it's going to be different for everyone. That's why I always save it
Mhm.
till the end because it can be a little daunting to be like, oh, like I got to figure out not only what I want, but also like how much that costs each month, basically. So that's why it's like
Yeah.
start with the financial statement, know where
Mhm.
you're at, then find out, okay, what's that first step, which is financial security? What's the second step, which is financial independence? And then finally, okay, then you can kind of sit down and be like, okay, what is it actually that you want? And
Yeah.
that can change too, right? Like you don't have to have everything figured out, right? Like for me,
Mhm.
I never thought that I would want to like leave teaching, right? Like it was never really a part of the plan. It kind of just
I was
happened.
surprised, yeah.
Yeah. And like I still like it. Like I still love
Oh,
what
for
I do.
sure.
And that's kind of a
No, it
big
is
reason
about what you
why,
do.
yeah, I did the free like financial literacy classes. I was doing them at like 8 o'clock in the morning, like the first week of school. It was literally just me scratching the itch because like, oh man, like I see everyone going back to school. I kind of
Mhm.
missed the classroom. So I was like, okay, well, I
Oh,
could do that.
yeah, for sure.
So
Like, it
that's
was
kind
more
of
just
like
something you enjoy doing. It was more something to do than, like, actually, like, I need to support myself. This is what I need to do to live.
correct. Yeah. And that's where you get to do what you want for work. You don't have to work. And that's kind of the
Yeah.
key with financial independence. Yeah.
Super quickly. So even if I don't go into ETF and, like, investing right away, do you have, like I know a lot of people use spreadsheets to kinda, like, calculate, like, a percent that they should be putting into saving based on their, like, monthly income and stuff like that? Like, is there like a percent, like how much I should be putting into my savings, how much I should be putting like aside, everything like that?
Good question. So it is going to depend on how much extra income you make.
Mhm.
Um, when you're
Despite like
young,
my liabilities, yeah.
yeah, when you're young, you can get away with what I call investing yourself broke. Meaning,
Mhm.
let's say you make, I don't know, 2 grand for the month. And it's like you have an extra $500. Well, the idea is that that $500, if not given a job, is going to be used up anyway. Like you're going to spend it anyway. So then it's like,
At
hey,
some
if you have
point,
extra
yeah.
500, then you can invest that extra amount. Some people like put away 10%. Some people just pick a number, put away 20%. Um, it depends how kind of aggressive you want to be with it. What's nice is that even if you don't open like the account to start investing, so it's called a discount brokerage account. You could just literally open it at your financial institution. Who do you bank with, Maya?
I bank with Steinbach.
Cool. Cool. So they should have that, I think. If not, the major banks have it too. You could just open like another bank account. Like I have a few with Scotiabank, RBC, um,
What was
and
the
then
account thing called again?
it's called a discount brokerage account.
Brokerage account. And does it go up like by specific interest or?
It will, so once you open a discount brokerage account, basically it allows you to choose freely what you want to invest in. So it's like you open that account, you'll click into it, and then usually what happens is you'll transfer money from a checkings or savings into that account. And then once it's in that account, it's actually in cash. So you got to remember that you still need to put that money into something. I know a lot of people just they think they're investing, but they're just collecting cash in that account. This is where you do a little bit of research on like what ETFs you want to invest in or like
Mhm.
stocks or whatnot. And then you just get used to putting the money away each time. Um, the cool thing too is that you can have what's called an open discount brokerage account. If it's fully open, you do have to like, kind of pay tax on that if you pull money out. You can have it in a TFSA, so a tax-free savings account, meaning any growth that happens in that discount brokerage account that is a TFSA is tax-free.
Mhm.
And then you could also have an RRSP. So that'll be like more so for
Retirement
retirement
savings.
or your first house. They all got the same rules. The difference now, because of the discount brokerage account, is you choose what you put into that.
Mhm. Oof. Being an adult
Fun.
sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you wish we were taught this in school, right?
Oh, okay, they did not prepare us. Okay, Mr. Hilario from our class at Monroe,
It was
so
pretty
bad.
crazy.
And they're
Yeah.
teaching us about like science and everything like that, and that's all good and like dandy, but like at the same time, they never taught us anything about the real world.
Mhm. Yeah. It's
Nothing at
it's
all.
it's super weird. That's a big reason why I do what I do now.
Mhm.
Because even if like let's say, of course we offer coaching opportunities and like mentorship and really like the info is out there. Like that's why I have the free YouTube channel. Like we put the content out there because people don't necessarily pay for information or knowledge. Like it's already out there. Like you can technically learn anything you want online. What people actually pay for is the accountability of like, hey, your coach reaches out. Did you actually invest this month? Awesome. Hey,
Yeah.
did you do your financial statement? It's like keeping you accountable. And then the other part is the implementation of like, hey, how do we customize this for you? Because I have some students where, their goal is like they don't even need $1 million. Like for you right now, it's 360 for financial security, right?
For
For
20 years.
someone, yeah, for 20 years, right? Like buying yourself freedom for 20 years, some people never reach that. Um, when I worked in the financial industry, the industry standard in North America, not even just Canada, but North America, is the average household, not individual household, has less than $1,000 to their net worth, which is kind of crazy.
Like they're
So
adding like
meaning
less than $1,000 like a month or like
they
altogether.
have less than $1,000 total. Yeah, which is kind of messed up, right? Um,
Wow.
if someone were to lose their job in North America, aka not get paid, within about 3 weeks, they would be going into debt. So it's like we all think that we're not doing well, especially
Mhm.
like, if you're like, I only have like 5 grand in my bank account, da da da.
Yeah.
That actually puts you at a better spot than like your average household, not even individual, right? Um, so yeah, it's like skills that aren't taught, right? And whether it's just financial literacy, whether it's like starting a small business, turning your passion into
Yeah.
something that you can actually turn into work. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, just like not really taught in school, which again is kind of weird, but
Yeah.
again, that's why we do what we do.
Oh, absolutely. And I feel like, okay, with the money that I was making at Shays, a lot of it I did put aside, but then moving out, I didn't realize how I didn't even comprehend how expensive things were going to be, how
Mhm.
expensive bills were going to be, everything like that. So a lot of that I don't necessarily have anymore. Like I still have a decent amount aside, but at the same time, it's not anything like I was that I imagined. I imagine even just for my hourly pay, not even tips included, how much I would have had in my savings if I didn't live on my own,
Right.
and that just makes me sick
Mhm. It's
because
interesting, right? Because
looking
like
like
you're not taught that. Like, oh yeah, it's gonna cost this much to like live on your own. It's like if people had a number at least before they turned 18, then at least you can kind of plan ahead. Because then you're like, oh right, like I should probably save up when I'm younger so that when I move out, it's not as like stressful, let's say.
oh for sure, and it was incredibly stressful, like paying bills and like high school and everything like that, and then also like paying out like what I owed for my student stuff, everything like that. Like that was all on me, and I'm just like one thing after another, and then I got into a car accident. Oh, car
Mm.
insurance too.
Conscious, yeah, yeah, all these
Just
things kind of add up.
everything.
Um, the beauty of it though, and I always kind of like reframe it, is that your money is the tool being used to have the life that you actually get to have, right? So it's like, yeah, we're
Mhm.
spending it, but it's like, hey, like you get to live where you're at, you get to put food on your own table. Um, and it's what I call like the school of life, right? Like, yeah, we weren't taught this, but as you actually get the experience, like every time you pay a bill, it's just whether it's subconsciously or consciously, you know that you're paying for the life that you actually get to live.
Yeah.
Like a little kind of like meditation or kind of a mindset piece that I show students is that people are pretty good with like when they make money, they kind of like, thank it. Whether you believe in higher power, you just want to thank the dollar or whatever, like it's like, cool, money comes in, I'm grateful for this. The other side you also want to be grateful for in the sense of when money leaves, well, it's not just money that you're spending, right? You kind of want to be grateful that, okay, like, I have gas now. You're exchanging it for food, right? And the way you kind of look at it is each time you spend money, it's
Mhm.
affecting more than just you, right? Let's say I go to a gas station, put in gas. Cool. I could be like, oh crap, gas prices are high. Like this sucks. Or I could be like, hey, I'm thankful that I actually have the money to pay for gas. That money is gonna part of it pay for the cashier. It's gonna partly pay for some tax. It's
That
gonna
against my
partly pay
work,
for
etc.
the work. Yeah. Someone's gonna be able to take that money, whether they're on the oil rig, they get a small cut of that. It's gonna put money on their table, and the money just flows basically.
Yeah.
And this teaches you to be grateful when money comes in, but also when money comes out.
Yeah. Well, just not to be so shocked about that. Super quickly, because I know we're already like past like our half an hour mark.
Mm,
With like my cash and stuff like that, should I keep it in my cash box or should I put it into my bank account now?
Good question. So with that, cash is great.
Like what happens when I get
Um,
paid under the table?
yeah, so cash, I would just keep the cash. You can have it as either part of like your emergency fund, right? If you can save, just like hold hard cash that you can access whenever, whether it's in your bank account or somewhere you could just grab. Um,
Mhm,
3 to 6 months of expenses is more than enough. Because
mhm.
like knock on wood, something happens, you just stop getting paid. If you have 3 to 6 months of breathing room of like, hey, I can pay my bills the next 3 to 6 months. A year is pretty excessive. Like that's getting close to like it's
Yeah,
kind of adding to your financial freedom and independence and security number.
yeah.
But minimum 3 months of savings for your expenses is a great place to be at already.
Well, I was actually like, how when I started saving, I like set the time at Shays. I was getting my nails done, like all of this stuff. I had 3 months of literally everything down to my Apple Music in these like little Ziploc bags that filled cash perfectly. So
Mm,
I was very grateful for when we locked her after hours and everything like that. My savings didn't take a huge turn.
right. Yeah.
That like
That's a good place to
I think I
be.
was like 4 months ahead of time,
Mm, yeah. Sweet. And then
but
you
that
can
went by
even
pretty
like
quick.
all those little expenses that you have and want, right? That could be part of like your financial freedom number, right? Like maybe you
Mhm.
do want to get your nails done X amount of times, and there's a price to that, right?
Oh
So it's like
gosh,
once you
no! Now
reverse
with service and
engineer,
everything, yeah.
Yeah. So you can kind of reverse engineer all that. Cool.
I'm actually very
Um,
grateful because you know what? Nails are honestly ridiculously expensive, and for what?
yeah,
I
they're not
jammed
cheap.
my finger in this dishwasher because I cleaned out. It just went pop. No, like I was paying at most for even just like French tips that looked like natural, $120 every two
Yeah,
weeks.
crazy.
And
Yeah.
that's just something I was like, can't even believe that I got so ahead of myself with that stuff. And then that's when I got carried away. I wasn't being as smart. And I had the
Right.
mentality like, oh, well, I'm 3 months ahead. Like I can do what I want. And then that three
Mm,
months went by so quick. And I didn't really put any thought into what I was doing into the future. And then that, that's where I was just like, okay, I kind of got a little bit screwed and I could have had X amount more into savings.
yeah. It's kind of a lesson,
And it
right? Like,
wasn't on stuff I didn't even need. I didn't even really want. It was just,
yeah.
yeah.
That's where like being intentional of like where we put our money. Because every now and then, like there's nothing wrong with that, right?
Yeah.
Now if it like bleeds into causing you to have cash flow issues, then it's like, hey, well, let's reevaluate. Um,
Mhm.
cool. Let me see if I forgot anything. No, I think that's a good start. Um,
Yeah.
once this video renders, I'll send this off to you as well, and then you'll have your own version. Homework really that you can kind of just update me, whether you send screenshots or just send me the
Yeah.
numbers, is create your financial statement and then find out your independence, security, and freedom numbers. And then essentially, yeah, kind of just start implementing these things. Um, see here.
The only
Yeah.
thing for my financial thing is because it changes every month because of my tips. It all depends on the day and stuff like that. So I think because now, like I said, it's the perfect time to start. Like because today is my first day that I'm working out the payroll. It's October 1st,
Yeah.
everything like that. So I can see how much I'm actually putting ahead of
Yeah.
time.
It might help too, like because your income's variable, to do like an average of like the past 1 to 3 months maybe. It might take a little bit more time, but at least now you get to see is like, hey, well, this is how much I'm spending. Because it's better to have like a close enough idea. Because reality is like your numbers now aren't going to be the same in the future. And that's kind of the beauty of this system is that as you get older, the responsibilities kind of add up, right?
Yeah.
So as your responsibilities change, your financial statement changes. And now
Mhm.
instead of being like, oh, I have to be stuck with this kind of as a budget, when you have a financial statement, you can adapt it
Yeah.
as how it changes and grows. Yeah.
Well, also, like a lot of people said, like even David said at the same time, like the first year you move out is going to be the most expensive
Mhm.
because I had basically nothing, like almost no furniture, like everything. So
Totally.
I'm trying not to be as hard on myself on that. And then there was obviously a lot of things that did happen within that year. So it's just,
Mhm.
but
Yeah. So
yeah.
it's like, yeah, there's usually more. Yeah, there's totally more expenses. That's another one, right? People like forget how expensive furniture can be.
No.
Even if you go IKEA. Yeah.
IKEA is a curse. IKEA is an absolute
It's a
curse.
trap. It's set up that
It's
way
so
too.
a trap.
Yeah.
Like some like things at IKEA are hit or miss. Like it can be like the best like quality and will last you like 10 years, or it'll like break within a few days.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of funny. Sweet. Cool.
Well,
Hey,
stuff
hope
like
that
that
was
with
helpful.
your yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. And then yeah, basically you kind of do the homework there. Just let me know. I'll like just touch base. Maybe I'll just shoot a little video that I can send off to you.
Mhm.
And then yeah, honestly, if you ever want to like learn more specific to like your
Yeah.
situation as you grow, we do have like courses and stuff. And then yeah, I'll probably send you a little video you can watch. If it helps you, awesome. If you're like, oh yeah, you could start later or whatever.
Yeah.
Always
Do
do
you
that too.
offer like in-person courses?
I do. So there's a course. It's called the Financial Abundance course. This is kind of like the first intro part that you got.
Yeah.
That one's all self-directed. We do offer more so of like in person when I'm in Winnipeg, basically. But it's like Zoom calls like this, and then basically it's similar to like I give you homework each week. We do a lesson, and then we kind of build
Yeah.
up from there. Yeah. So it covers not just the financial statements, but also like, hey, how do you actually generate other sources of
Mhm.
income? To okay, how do you like debt hack? Like, how do you actually use debt to your advantage? Um, Next one is okay, how do you actually grow this so that you can speed it up and you know exactly where you're going? And then the last part is like the high level networking because in the beginning when you're learning, like it is important to kind of learn the foundations and all these aspects. But later
Mhm,
on, especially when you get a little bit older and like, time becomes more of a resource,
mhm.
it's not necessarily what you know, it's more like who you know. And then it's like having that network goes really far. Like at this point, it's I actually spend more time networking than actually like going down breaking my finances. You can always hire an accountant once you make enough money. But then like if you meet the right people, then you'll open up other opportunities. And that's what's really where things kind of open up a lot more because then it's hard to whether you decide to run a business or take things very like to the next level. If you don't know people kind of in there, it's like how do you even get the info, right? Like
Oh,
even for me,
absolutely.
like I don't know everything, right? And it's impossible for me
Mhm.
to do that. So I'll just like do networking, get into rooms, know the right people, and they'll feed me the info. Then I can use it basically.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Cool. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll send you that
I'm really
video.
glad you
Really
didn't speak in
interested.
French this class.
Yeah. Even when I've coached a few people like off offset with this, and then like even I need to like review the info, like the words, right? Because like savings is like épargne, and I was like, okay, well I didn't know that. It's different,
I
right?
didn't know that either.
Yeah, it's like oh I probably should know that, but yeah I didn't
You
know
know,
that.
but Monroe also screwed us out of that because we were the weird transition year. We only got 2 years of late French immersion program when we were supposed to get 3.
Right? Yeah.
So then, when we went into like Miles and I was in the IB program, we were put into all the with all the John Henderson kids who have been in French immersion since kindergarten, and
Yeah,
they were expecting us to learn at that level. So
it's different.
Miles
Yeah.
Mac is on a whole nother level right now, and honestly, like they canceled the IB program, they took all of that
I
out.
heard. Yeah, I heard. Well, you still in Miles? No, right? You graduated.
I graduated.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll send you that video
year two.
if it helps. Awesome.
No, awesome.
It's
I appreciate that. Like anything you want to send me my way that you think might be helpful,
yeah,
like all all props to you. I will absolutely look into that. And if yeah,
cool. Okay, I'm gonna take a quick marketing photo and then I'll let you go. Let me just put this here. Then I'll
wait,
go
wait.
on this side so I see Alliance and we'll go 3, 2, 1. Awesome. Okay, good stuff, Maya. And then yeah, once homework's done, shoot me that stuff. And then if you have questions, let me know. And then yeah, I'll send you that video right after I have some lunch here.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Okay.
Yeah, good stuff.
Have a great rest
Okay,
of your
take care.
day.
Ciao.
Bye.
The knowledge I had with real estate wasn't that great, and that's when I knew I needed a mentor to guide me through the steps of minimizing my mistakes and obtaining property. It kept me accountable with the limited time I had after the long hours at work. It taught me things I wouldn't have learned without a mentor.
Thank you to Patrick. Big help. Helped me with pretty much everything ever since I started. So big shout out to Patrick and Alliance.
Nice. Yeah, Nick's an action taker, so we can help guide you, but you still got to do work, and
Yep.
Nick is a testimonial for that.
Sure.
And thank you again, Patrick, for this program. It changed my life. It changed my mindset. It changed everything. That was the best six weeks of my life.
I just want to give a shout out to my man Patrick. Just honestly been one of the best teachers that I've ever had.
It's a very informative course. Patrick works with you one-on-one, so if there's any questions or anything you might be doubting or you're uncertain of, he'll definitely be there to help. Honestly, highly suggest this course. It's taught me a lot through my journey.